Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund and MoneyMile present your goals, dreams and plans.
Hello and welcome to Your GDP, which is your goal dream plan. It's a series where we seek to educate our viewers on what your goals are, what your dreams are, and what you can do to plan accordingly to achieve those goals. Joining me today is well-known personal finance trainer and author, Amit Trivedi. Thank you very much, Amit. A pleasure talking to you. Amit, what is the role of an advisor and how do you think they have been able to cope in this pandemic? We have some extremely good advisors in this country, who've been pretty much active throughout this 1 year period. In fact, they were probably moving more towards digital because there was a physical lack of movement. But how would you define the role of an advisor more so with this pandemic where there was so much of volatility, there was so much of hand-holding that people needed? And how do you think they've dealt with this crisis?
So the primary role of a financial advisor, and I'm using a broader term financial advisor, whether these are SEBI-registered investment advisors or the mutual fund distributors who are offering advice incidental to their distribution business. But the intermediaries, if I were to use a broader term, their primary role is to construct a portfolio for the client in line with the unique situation of the person or the family. Now, it is that unique situation which needs to be analyzed by somebody. A lot of times, investors think that they are able to do it themselves. Well, yes, there are a few people who are able to do it themselves, but it is not everybody's cup of tea. You need a third party to do that analysis of the situation. What does that situation analysis involve? Number one, what's the return requirement in order to achieve your goals? Number two, what is your financial ability to take various risks in order to achieve those returns? And number three, what is your psychological makeup? What is your mental makeup to take those risks and handle those risks in order to achieve those returns? Because if you need higher returns, then obviously you will have to live with some amount of higher risk, and depending on what asset category that you choose, there will be different risks. But if you are not comfortable with taking the risk, then you can't expect higher returns. So this balance is also required. Now, once this is done, the external noise often creates humongous amount of turbulence in the mind, which I call the roller coaster in the mind. And that roller coaster is far more dangerous than the roller coaster that we see in the prices in the market. Who would calm the nerves in such a situation? And there again, the financial advisor's role comes in. And I'll quote a couple of examples of course, I will not name, but a couple of examples of advisors who've done some fabulous job. Number one, many have called up their clients and simply, talked them out of making mistake. It was more friendly conversation, but that conversation allowed the client to vent out and cool down. Number two, in another case, somebody called up the advisor and said, I can't continue my SIP because my company has decided to cut my salary by 20%. So this guy said, okay, don't worry, we'll do the needful. But in the meantime, after that conversation, this guy prepared a small sheet and then called up the client again and said, now let's talk once again. Let's review the whole situation once again. And he asked them, let's list down your expenses. And pre-lockdown versus now, is there a change? Sir, amazingly, while the salary was cut by 20%, the expenses were cut by 22% in that situation. Now, 20% cut on income and 22% cut on expenses, which means the savings had actually gone up. And this guy said, don't worry, I'll not ask you to increase the investment, but let's not disturb your SIPs. just continue the way it is. Now, this is where an advisor is required, because the client was under tremendous stress due to due to the income drop. It was not possible to take a logical decision for the client. In another case, the advisor did an analysis of the portfolio of her clients and then gave individual reports that in your case, your portfolio suggests and your situation suggests that no action is required, or in certain cases, some action was required. So she suggested that action. Now, that's tremendous value add. And this approach of emotional and analytical, conversation really helps big time in ensuring that we make least amount of mistakes.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Amit Trivedi. Thank you very much for coming by and sharing your perspective with our viewers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure is mine.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.